In Nairobi, Americans have been following what has been happening back home, and KTN News editor, that is Asha Mwilu, is standing by in Hurlingham here in the capital, Nairobi. Asha, what are those Americans living in Nairobi saying?
Thank you, Ben. We're really lucky to have been invited to a really interesting event here in Nairobi. We're in Hurlingham right now, and we're hanging out with Americans, their friends, Kenyan friends, and Europeans. And what they've been doing for the last 4 hours is calling back home, calling undecided voters, that's family, friends, and even voters that they don't know, to just convince them to go out and vote. And this event, I must say, is really subjective because they're supporting one candidate. So as you can see behind me, you can see everyone is really busy on their laptops. They're making Skype calls, they're calling people on their phones, speaking to people who pick up their phones. And so far, they've made more than 350 calls and convinced how many? And convinced about 10% of those. So let's speak to Elizabeth, who's our host this evening. How are you, Elizabeth?
I'm great, thank you.
So how long have you been in Kenya?
3 years now.
Why did you decide to hold this event?
Well, I believe strongly in the candidate, Hillary Clinton. I believe strongly against her opposing candidate, who I don't think I need to name. And I love this feeling of being part of something bigger around an election, and being this far from the States, you can feel pretty disconnected, and you look at it and you're like, what is going on over there? Like this craziness. So this is like a really fun way to get people together, to give us something to do so we're not just stressing out, but to feel like we're part of the campaign, the whole experience.
I must ask, because I've seen a setup in the next room where you have the map and you have a couple of states posted on the wall. What's the criteria? How do you choose which voters to call?
Well, right now we're focusing on swing states, which are states where they could go for either candidate, sort of depending on who decides to vote and who they decide to vote for. And this is really easy, calling swing states through the Hillary Clinton campaign. You just go and sign on, and you kind of can choose a state, or they just give you a random state. I chose a couple of swing states that are particularly close, like Florida and North Carolina, and those are important in terms of winning electoral votes, but they're also sort of big symbolic victories. If Hillary Clinton could win Florida out from under Donald Trump, I mean, that's like his, the whole crux of his campaign. And so that would be not only winning those votes and in the Electoral College, it would be the momentum of winning a state that people don't think you're going to win. And there are a lot of close races.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. We'll be here all night from 10 p.m. when Joageo will have a special panel discussing the nitty-gritties of this election. And we'll be able to go to the next room and discuss those states and how they're being affected by the votes coming in from the U.S. And also maybe speak to some of the Kenyans here at this event to find out why they came here and why it's important for them to make the calls back in the U.S. to convince voters to go out to the polling station. Ben, Sophia, back to you. But 10 p.m., Joageo will be joining me here. So we're still on standby.
Thank you, Asha. Asha there with the views of friends of Americans. Many thanks.